From Creamer Media in Johannesburg, this is the Real Economy Report. Our top stories this week. Renewable energy projects are set for growth. A Canadian coal junior continues to grow its portfolio of South African projects. And we examine the importance of the search for wreckage from the Air France Airbus lost last week over the South Atlantic. The renewable energy industry welcomed NERSA's announcement of its renewable energy refit tariff in March this year. Christy van der Merwe speaks to Camco's Jonathan Curran about the tariff.
Wind power, small hydro, landfill gas and concentrated solar power technologies will all fetch a higher price for the electricity they produce, from Eskom, which will run the single buyer office. This higher tariff allows renewable energy project developers to cover their costs and make a decent return on investment, because renewable energy is more expensive to generate than coal-fired power. The refit has been outlined, and now the details are being finalised.
I know that the regulator and Eskom and DME are looking at this in a lot of detail. As far as I'm aware, I think the key issue now is finalising the power purchase agreement, which I understand is being developed over the coming few months. There will still be other issues in terms of if there's a requirement for grid upgrades and for improving the transmission networks, then there are some costs involved, and to improve the transmission networks is an expensive activity and it can take quite a number of years to put in place. So there's issues about how that will be managed that still need to be sorted out, and issues also around who pays for these sort of costs and how those costs are passed on. Also, there are some issues regarding the size of certain technologies of what is going to be brought into the refit. So small details, but the principles of the refit are there, the price is there, and if they can get the power purchase agreement, we can get projects happening. I would like to see the principles of projects in place and applications moving by the end of this year. I don't see that as a problem.
The regulator has also said it will consider including other technologies, such as solar photovoltaics, which were initially left out of the scheme. Said to be just too expensive by some, others feel that in a country with as much sunshine as South Africa, photovoltaics should certainly play a part in meeting the country's renewable energy targets.
I'm much more positive now because with the price decreases in recent months and in recent years, it's starting to have the potential to be looked at seriously. If you'd looked at this maybe 2 years ago, solar PV would have been too expensive. And I think that's why it wasn't part of the priority technologies initially discussed, because it was way too expensive. But we're seeing price reductions now, significant price reductions, and if we can actually grow the market, we will see further reductions.
Admittedly, it's more expensive, but Camco says there are also many benefits, and that solar PV could be included in the refit, with a suggested tariff of R2.98.
TSX-listed coal junior Homeland Energy is continuing to make progress with a number of its South African projects. Chanel Pringle has the story after the break.
Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, empowering mining.
South Africa's growing coal industry will provide Homeland Energy with fantastic acquisition and development opportunities in the next 5 years. The development of its Elof project is seen as a prime opportunity for the group.
The granting of the Elof license in May of 2009 has been a great thing for Homeland. It will add the ability for us to produce 500,000 tons per month and would definitely bring us into the mid-tier sector of producers here in South Africa.
The development of the group's flagship mine, the Kendal Colliery, is continuing, while a mining license application for its third potential project, Onbekend, will be submitted early in 2010. Meanwhile, the group also sees plenty of potential in South Africa's neighbouring countries.
The financial crisis, like world commodity markets for all mining companies, particularly for juniors, has affected Homeland as well. We've lessened our exposure to exploration work and focused on our core business of putting the Kendal mine into cash flow positive and developing our other projects in South Africa. As markets improve and as our ability improves to do so, we'll certainly continue our exploration outside of South Africa.
Countries of interest include Botswana, where the group has formerly been active, Mozambique, and even potentially Zimbabwe.
In the early hours of Monday, June the 1st, an Air France Airbus A330-200 airliner flying from France to Brazil crashed into the South Atlantic in mysterious circumstances. A search and recovery operation, which is still underway, recovered the first bodies and wreckage on Saturday, June the 6th. Keith Campbell reports.
Just how important is it that as much wreckage as possible is recovered? South African spokesman for Airbus, Lyndon Burns, explains.
There's been a lot of speculation about the cause of the accident, and there's understandably clamouring for an instant explanation and some answers as to what's caused this aircraft to go down. we can't answer that without some form of evidence, and the best evidence we can have will be the two so-called black box recorders. The first one is the cockpit voice recorder, which records not just the transmissions between the pilots and air traffic control, but all sounds that take place or emanate from the cockpit. So it will be the conversations between the pilots, as well as any warning signals or horns that alert or other sounds in the cockpit. Now, in addition to that, you've got the digital flight data recorder, and that tracks electronically, it measures and tracks the parameters of all of the crucial systems on the aircraft. So your flight control surfaces, that's your wing flaps, your rudder, your elevators, ailerons that help you to maneuver the aircraft in the air. It would measure speed, engine thrust, engine temperature. There are probably well over 100 different parameters that would track. And again, marrying that up with the flight data recorder, with the cockpit voice recorder at least, would give you a very good picture. Both independently, though, are also very good, would give very good indications as to what the probable cause of the accident was and the sequence of events. Now, in addition to that, it would be very good to have some physical pieces of debris. If there has been an explosion or an implosion, that could be verified with some forensic testing and metallurgic testing on the actual pieces of debris.
And now for a sneak preview of this week's Engineering News magazine. In our cover story, the CEO of General Motors South Africa maps the road ahead as its US parent seeks to navigate the Detroit meltdown. We report that the Business Trust has established a 36 million rand project preparation fund for South Africa's local and provincial governments. And the start date for the new undersea fibre optics cable moves closer. And in Mining Weekly this week, we report that 1.3 billion rand is required for a viable but vigorously opposed Western Cape tungsten project. Read how efforts to plug a water leak at the Cigar Lake uranium project in Canada are proceeding as expected, but will take the better part of this year to complete. And we report that South African black-owned empowerment firm Mvelapanda Resources will delist from the JSE in early 2010. That's Creamer Media's Real Economy Report. Join us again next week for more news and insight into South Africa's real economy.
Creamer Media's Mining Weekly delivers unmatched insight into Africa's premier industry. Breaking news, visit miningweekly.com. Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, empowering mining.